There has been a lot of SpongeBob games throughout the years. So many in fact that I'm sure most people have grown up playing at least one of them. I know I had some favorites from my childhood, so now to relive some of those fun memories, I figured I'd go through and platinum every single SpongeBob game on PlayStation, totaling up to 7 games that range from terrible PS3 and PS Vita grinds to this GTA style Patrick simulator, and then of course the classic type of SpongeBob games that we all love. But then finally the newest one that just released, Titans of the Tide. And going by the release date, let's start with the very first one in 2013, Plankton's Robotic Revenge for the PS3. So this game starts out with picking one of 5 characters, and then starting it up we get what I feel is the most effort they put into the whole game, the starting cutscene. So the plot of this story is that a bunch of batteries get dropped in a Bikini Bottom from this ship, landing all around the chum bucket, and so of course Plankton uses them for evil and makes a whole robot army with them. And as usual, he's after one thing in particular.
The Krabby Patty formula is mine! Mine!
The Krabby Patty formula is perfectly safe in my new ultra-secure... Ooh, safe.
You mean this? Ultra secure safe?
Get back here with me, safe Plankton!
But Mr. Krabs says the safe needs 3 keys to open it up, which are all located on this here map.
Thank you!
And with that, we're now sent into the first level of the game, where there isn't much to do besides smack some barrels and kill some enemies to collect what are called sprockets, which is the money in this game. They're going to be a huge part of this terrible grind at the end. But once I got halfway through this level, I found the upgrade station where I can spend those sprockets to buy my first gun. Lock and load, first trophy out of the way. So now of course the rest of the level ramps up the amount of enemies, but with my new pickle blaster that wasn't a problem. And once I got through them all, I made it to my first free fall section, which has a trophy I need to get for not hitting a single thing on the way down. Well, maybe next time, but I do still get this trophy for just finishing my first free fall. And when I said the most effort put into this game was the very first cutscene, this is what I mean. All the rest are just like this, and they have every character on the screen so they don't have to be swapped out.
Unlimited power!
But we're already being thrown into our very first boss fight here. How do we get my first boss fight after the first level? That's hilarious. And being the first fight, it doesn't have too much going on. We get a little enemy wave first, and then once they're defeated, it brings on this butt slam, which is followed up by Plankton slowly patrolling back and forth shooting while I shoot back. And I can't do too much damage yet, so it did take a while. And although I was at 1 health at the end, here's when I beat Plankton for the first time. And there we go. First boss fight down. Seaweed squashed.
Victory will be mine!
And we didn't actually get that map back yet, but I did get this for beating a whole level without dying. Sea Warrior. And with the start of the next level, it was time to start grinding and saving up sprockets. A lot of sprockets, all to be used on upgrading my guns. And once I have enough to fully upgrade my first one, I get this. Decked out. All upgrades on a gizmo. So to get the platinum, I'll need to grind enough sprockets to buy and fully upgrade a total of 7 guns, which is 39,150 of them to be exact. But to make things worse, I'll have to go through and do this on every single character in the game, bringing that number to 195,750 sprockets. But you see, I didn't exactly know that yet. And here's what I was thinking about the game only a couple levels in. This is probably the most generic, boring SpongeBob game I've ever played in my life. This sucks. How did this come out after like SpongeBob the movie and all that? Those games are great. Battle for Bikini Bottom was on PS2 and this is what they put on PS3? Oh man. And right about then I had also killed my 250th enemy to get another trophy out of the way. Bot Wrecker. And after grinding through that level, I was at least able to save up enough to buy every single gun for SpongeBob. Armed to the gills. Which then brings us into a new map. And I was kind of excited thinking maybe the scenery will be different. Nope. Same old boring layouts, just a different color, which seems to be a trend for this whole game. I mean, they did add some more enemies like these spinning tops I had to butt slam, or even these turrets that will get me my next trophy. Well, not before I had another chance at that free fall trophy for not getting hit. That was a close. Oh my god. But right after that, I ran into some more turrets where I popped this for destroying 50 of them. Master Overloader, there we go, 50 turrets down finally. And that brings me to my next boss fight to get my first key against Plankton's country cousin.
Don't you worry, I mean you just told me what you're gonna do.
I just don't even have to move, I just stand here and hold the shoot button. Okay, now I gotta move. A little bit. back to standing still again. And so that's how the whole fight was. Just those 3 waves repeated over and over and over. Well, I guess it does get slightly faster, but with my gun fully upgraded, it didn't take too long. And once she's defeated, I get this, Pirateer, which is for beating the first of 3 areas in this game. Meaning I had 2 more whole areas to go through with all the same generic layout. Like this next one here in Rock Bottom. It's all dark with some metal floors now. How crazy. I mean, there is one new enemy that's like a little vacuum, but other than that, just the same old sprocket collecting and shooting enemies. This game has little to no effort put into it at all, and coming after many SpongeBob bangers from previous systems is pretty damn shameful. But on I went, grinding for a whole other hour until I finally made it to the end of this area to get into my next boss fight, which is against yet another one of Plankton's hillbilly cousins.
Yeah, I'm a Plankton, but not the Plankton you want.
And this one actually introduces some slightly more difficult mechanics that I can't just stand still through. Okay, I got hit already. Damn. And the second wave involves me standing wherever these red circles aren't to avoid blowing up. And that's about it. Just those 2 over and over while shooting him until I finally take all of his health. And done for. Hard rock. So now that brings us to the final area, Bikini Bottom. Well, it's basically just the same areas as before, but bright colored now. And after making it through the first levels here, I came across the final free fall before the end of the story. So I had to make sure to nail this one without getting hit a single time. I mean, I could have just come back later and gotten it, but I prefer getting it on the very last chance. It's so bad to control. There we go, did it. Yes! Coral Skydiver, there it is. So now from there, I just had to mindlessly make my way through to the end while collecting as many sprockets as I could, of course, killing enemies and breaking barrels on barrels. They even added some of the most minimal platforming ever here. But just before finishing up this area to get the last boss fight, I had finally gotten enough to buy all of the upgrades on every gun for SpongeBob. Here we go, I got enough to max out the last one now. All of them are done. Master Sponge, my first of 5 characters. Oh, it's gonna be such a terrible grind. But before we get into that terrible grind, I first had to defeat the last boss, which I also made absolutely terrible by deciding to switch to Patrick, who had no upgrades on him, meaning my damage and shooting speed was as low as could be, which might have made this boss fight take a whole 20 minutes of what should have only been 5 had I stayed as SpongeBob. But instead of quitting and switching characters back, I just kept pushing on, doing the tiniest amounts of damage. And this boss fight is just a mix of all the moves we've already seen, starting with the easier laser ones and enemies, and then moving into the final waves we've got the harder ones with the bombs dropping. But with my persistence, I made it through the whole thing very slowly and finally beat him. Here we go, it's finally happening, gonna beat the game for the first time. There we go. That took 10 minutes longer than it should have. Oh, no way. No way. Oh, man. Come on. That's like another 10 minutes of shooting.
A few moments later.
Alright, here we go. Last few shots. 20-minute fight that should have only taken 2 minutes. If there's a third wave, I'm actually gonna cry. Thank you. Beachhead. Let's go. And they actually even added a final cutscene here, showing that Mr. Krabs had the 3rd key all along, meaning they thankfully probably cut the game short by a whole area. And not only that, but Mr. Krabs had the secret formula on him all along.
You mean we did all that for nothing?
And then Patrick and SpongeBob share a nice Krabby Patty to end the story. But that's just where the real grind begins now. And even the devs know how terrible it is, so they actually added cheat codes into the game that give you 13,750 sprockets to each character, which definitely would have saved me time with SpongeBob, but I wanted to do the first one legit. And even with the extra help, this grind is abysmal. I ended up doing Patrick next, and it took me just under 2 hours to grind enough to fully save up. I probably could have saved a little bit of time from repeating the same level over and over and over, but that sounded boring, so I went through the whole 3rd world a few times. And well, after that 2-hour grind fest, here's my reaction to getting that one done. After an hour and a half of this boring crap, I'm finally gonna be done, and I still got 3 more characters to go. There we go, last upgrade for Patrick. Master Star. It's crazy. I don't want to have to do that 3 more times. So before I start the other 3 grinds, there's just a few simple multiplayer trophies to get out of the way, like reviving a teammate, which I also had to do 20 times after that. But thankfully I found this nice little spot to do it super easy. And the final multiplayer one's a bit more difficult, just for the reason that I had to gather 4 controllers, which luckily is exactly how many I have. But all I had to do was get through the level and then spawn them all in to finish it up, and I get Team Sponge. And now finally it was time to max out the final 3 characters, starting with Mr. Krabs, since supposedly his ability makes you get more money. I mean, it's a fitting ability, but I really don't think it works at all. I spent the whole time using it every chance I could, and it still ended up taking me just barely less time than Patrick's grind did, coming in at an hour and a half. And I mean, I was moving a lot faster too, so I call BS on that special move. But here's when I got that one done. This grind sucks. This game is so pointlessly empty and boring. There's nothing to it at all. Master Crab. And now I had the method down and just started playing the best money-making levels over and over, grinding the last two as fast as I could, which ended up being faster than Mr. Krabs even. And then the very final character we have is Squidward. Such a terribly boring grind. There's nothing to this game. It's so empty and lifeless and pointless. Master Squid. Oh, right away. Platinum SpongeBob. That was a really boring, terrible grind. This game is absolutely lifeless. Just a complete nothing burger. And you can thank Activision for this beauty of a game, which brings us to the next game, SpongeBob HeroPants for the PS Vita. And well, you should have seen my face when I loaded up the game and this logo came across the screen.
No! I can't take it.
So before I started up the game, I decided to get a quick look at all the characters here. All right, we got Buff SpongeBob, Buff Patrick, Buff Squidward, Robo Krabs. Sandy's just a living squirrel. Yo, what is that? Why does Plankton look like that?
I'm ready for a normal day of work.
Now for the story in this game, we see that there's some burgers and spatulas that have come alive chasing everyone around. When all of a sudden this happens.
Bubbles the talking dolphin!
You see, someone is using the last page from a magic book to make weird things happen.
And one of those weird things is turning into superheroes. But then he tells us the whole point to this game.
Find the last page and pick up any other pages like this one. Shouldn't be too hard. Good luck.
So, yeah, that's our whole storyline. We have to collect magic pages to stop weird things from happening. I wonder how long it took them to think of that one. And for the gameplay, it's essentially the same lifeless world as before, just with 10 FPS now. But this time, the focus is just to collect coins everywhere. Oh, and of course the pages, which is how I got my first trophy for finding my first one. Good start. So the superhero ability works in the same way as the specials in the other game, except they actually do something here. It just makes you run faster and jump super far. And there is a few enemies scattered around, but they don't actually give you anything when you kill them, so essentially it's just a coin collector with terrible graphics. But once I finished that first level, I actually did it without dying, and it gets me my next trophy. Unbeatable. And that's when I get introduced to my next terrible grind that I'll have to go through, because here they did it yet again. 5 abilities with 3 upgrades each, and when I buy my first one, I get yet another trophy. It feels better. But to fully upgrade each character will be 6,600 coins for everything. Oh yeah, and this time we have 6 characters, so make that 39,600 coins total. But before we get to that, I still had to beat the game for the first time. Now there is a couple puzzles and moving platforms here and there, but nothing crazy. The enemies are far and few between, and the world just feels completely dead. You literally just have to run through collecting all of the coins, and that's about it. I also got this random trophy for not throwing burgers while using the hero, which is another move they can do. But the only other thing I had to worry about here is the page collectibles, because they decided to make it so you need multiple playthroughs for them all, since some of them are locked behind walls for certain characters. So I did make sure to have a guide pulled up so that I could get all the available ones along the way and make my life easier later. But other than that, there's not much to show here until I had finally gotten to my first and only boss fight of the game, which was a Plankton robot that isn't controlled by Plankton. And I gotta say, this fight might just be worse than the other game's bosses. All I had to do was hold down this bubble blaster and swerve back and forth doing unlimited damage. And the only attacks he did were sending out tiny enemies or just hitting the ground. He even stomped in a circle sometimes. How scary. But I just kept running back and forth for a minute or two until I finally drained all of his health. There we go. And he's out. Looks like a big silo. Scrap metal. So then I just kept on grinding through the levels, collecting coins, hitting a few enemies, and even jumped on what they call a trampoline 100 times. Pretty sure that's a clam. Now, like I said, there is the occasional puzzle or a little bit of platforming, but other than that, it's literally just collecting coins. And by the time I had gotten to the end of the 7th level, I actually was able to fully upgrade SpongeBob for my first character finished. And max upgrade. Can't get better than this. Oh, I'm sure it can. Which was also at the perfect time for my next level, since here I had to play as Patrick, so I could go and get him smacked up by the Patrickosaurus. There we go. That should be it. Self-inflicted damage. I also had to restart it as yet another character so that I could get past the Patrickosaurus without getting smacked. And once I finished that level, I'd get the other trophy done. And since we're on the topic of dinosaurs, in the next level, we meet this one. That's pretty damn ugly. Now we actually have to run away from this ugly dino, Crash Bandicoot style, which I also had to do as Squidward for a trophy. But it was actually very simple, and the dino seemed to stay just far enough away the whole run. I don't even think it can catch up to you. But once it's done, I get this. The bigger they are. I also got this one for finishing a level without taking any damage, which I may or may not have been trying really hard to get the whole time. So for the next level, we enter SpongeBob's Dreamland. Now listen, I don't even think they knew what they were doing with this storyline. We've got magic pages, magic dolphins, superheroes, robot boss fights, and even dinosaurs. So yeah, don't ask me because I have no clue what's going on. They threw this one together even worse than the last. But anyways, there's one more collectible I forgot to mention. On each level in the game, there's a golden statue just like this. And well, this one's actually also my very last one. Also meaning we're on the last level of the game, thankfully. And all I had to do to end it was platform my way through this messy puzzle to wake SpongeBob up out of his coma, which I also had to do as SpongeBob for a trophy. Oh, here we go. Looks like it's finally the end. Yep, level complete. Not even a boss fight, just a big platforming section instead. Saved the world. And like looking in a mirror. But then we get our ending cutscene where Bubbles appears to take all of our pages we've collected. Then he tells us to go back in time and redo the whole campaign to get the rest of them.
Happy hunting, friends!
What a great ending. But now that's my next goal, is to get all the ones I'm missing, which was honestly fairly annoying since every one of them needed to be gotten by a different character basically. Some levels had multiple different characters I had to use, but they were very easy to find, so that was good. But after about 25 minutes of breaking down doors and getting collectibles, here's the final one. Please pop the trophy right now. Yes, reality restored. That wasn't too bad, little half-hour collectible session. And that only leaves me with one thing left to do, and that's grind the same level over and over and over and over for hours on end. And I honestly don't remember how long it took because I just zoned right out, especially once I had the path memorized. Completing the single level took about 7 minutes with 1,000 coins each time. But after way too much time of mindless grinding, I had finally gotten to my very final run here. Yeah, let's go. I got the 1200. Good to go there. Oh, imagine I need 1300. That would suck. No more grinding on this stupid, terrible game. Such a good game up next. 1, 2. Oh, no. I'm 127 short. I have to do a whole run. Oh.
A few inches later.
All right, here we go. Platinum time. Yes! I'm super awesome. The real hero. What a terrible grind. And with that, we're finally moving on to what's probably the best of these 7 games and also one of my childhood favorites, Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. And the story in this game starts off with seeing our usual nemesis Plankton. And yet again, he's decided to create another robot army. But it turns out he left the don't obey switch on, which I mean, why is that even there? But that makes all of the robots go completely rogue. And from there, we switch over to see what SpongeBob and Patrick are doing.
Another perfect day playing robots and racehorses.
Yeah, only I keep getting the racehorses and the robots mixed up.
So they decide it would be a good idea to use Patrick's magic conch shell and wish for a bunch of robots to play with before heading off to bed. Which is where we come in as SpongeBob to do what feels to me like the most nostalgic part of the game. Just being able to explore around SpongeBob's house. I thought this was so cool when I was younger, and well, frankly, I kinda still do. But after doing everything there is to do in his house, it brings me to my first trophy. Time for tutorial. So then I explored Bikini Bottom for a little bit and headed off to my first area.
The rolling green hills of Jellyfish Fields.
Which starts off with seeing Squidward get chased down and zapped. So we tell him we'll get him some King Jellyfish Jelly, which is all the way through at the end of this area. So I began making my way through and fighting some enemies off and just enjoying the nostalgia that this game brings me. And I was of course making sure to get whatever collectibles I could along the way. And I do gotta say, I don't know why they didn't stick with golden spatula collectibles in the new games. It just feels so fitting and proper to collect them. But once I finally made it through to the end, I find King Jellyfish in the shower and head into my first boss fight here. Alright, here we go. King Jellyfish boss fight. Oh, I gotta jump that. Hit him. Yes, there we go. Holy crap. Going in for hit number 2. There we go. Here we go. Final slap. Boom. jellyfish jam. So not only do I get the trophy for beating him, but I also get another one for helping out Squidward. Jellyfishing. And speaking of Squidward, I also had to go annoy him 10 times in a row for another trophy. And then to top it all off, I also got my 10th spatula right after that for this. But with that, we're now off to area number 2.
Downtown Bikini Bottom.
And one of the goals here is to collect a total of 11 steering wheels for Miss Puff, which most of them happen to be on top of the buildings, bringing us to our next character we unlock, Sandy, since she has the ability to use her lasso to glide and swing through the sky. But since this area was so big, I got a little bit lost in getting the collectibles all around, and I ended up spending about an hour here. But eventually I found every single steering wheel and went back to Miss Puff to get this trophy. Uptown and downtown. I also went through and defeated this whole lighthouse full of enemies after, just so I could get one more sock to be my 15th. Get her. That's a funny trophy name. And now we're on to the next area.
Goo Lagoon.
Now we have a couple missions to do here, with the first being to help out Larry by redirecting all of these sunbeams. But I kind of got sidetracked and didn't really finish what I started. But I did end up defeating my 100th robot with SpongeBob. Oh, Sponge Smasher. And each character has one of those trophies, which will also be my next trophy. Well, not before having to go through this huge area, starting from the sandcastle and moving all the way into the caves. But after getting through there, it brings me to one of the best areas, the pier. And I say one of the best just for the fact that you get to go around playing a bunch of different mini games like Whack-A-Tiki or even bumper boats, but with no boats. But right about then is when I finally destroyed my 100th robot with Patrick. Ooh, Star Smasher. And then I went back to Mr. Krabs to get my reward for clearing out the carnival from robots and even found my 25th spatula right after. But from there, I just had to finish the mission I started with Larry at the beginning of the area, and that would be all missions completed in Goo Lagoon. Surf's up. So now with that done, we're able to unlock a new area in the main world. But before we can get to it, King Neptune brings us to his Poseidome for our next boss fight.
This corner, defending the Poseidome, a small square guy.
Bring it on, Your Highness! Bring it on!
Now, I might have died the very first time since I forgot how to do this fight, but this one consists of 3 different waves to go through. For the first, I just had to run around dodging until I got the chance to butt slam her in the head. And after a few hits, that brings us to wave 2 to tag in Patrick. But this one plays out a bit different. First up, she adds a new off the ropes move I have to jump over. But this time, when I ground pound her head, it falls off for me to pick up to throw at the scoreboard, bringing us into the 3rd and final wave, which might actually just be the easiest one, since all it does is add 1 extra spring to the off the ropes move. But then I just had to uppercut her a few times to get the finisher. Boom. Sweet victory. We also unlock a new move here,
The Bubble Bowl.
and it works exactly as it sounds. But as part of this new area, we unlock a few new places to go into, like the Mermalayer, which of course besides the collectibles has 1 quest I need to finish here, while also another boss fight. But first up, I had to take this huge ball and roll it across this whole railing system mousetrap style by making sure the next platform was ready to go on time. And I mean, I did fail at the end once because I wasn't paying attention. Oh, what? No, I failed? Oh my god. But I got it done on the next one. Please, yes, it's going. It's going. Go. No. Yes, holy crap. Okay, I did it. Keep it rolling. Now, like I said, we also have a boss fight here.
Who is it? Man Ray? The Atomic Flounder? The Dirty Bubble? Run! Did someone call?
So this one has a lot less health than Sandy. Only 3 hits I need this time. And to get those hits, I just had to dodge this wave of bubbles and make sure to hit a bubble bowl. There we go.
What is that yellow thing? Some kind of mold?
And I mean, there is a few enemies, but nothing crazy. And here's when I got to my final hit. I thought there'd be more than 3. Nope, that's it.
Thanks to you, Frankie.
Shrimp catcher. 2nd boss down. So now I made sure to clear out some more collectibles from the main hub. That looks so funny. Then headed off to the next level in Rock Bottom, where we have 2 missions to complete. The first with Miss Puff for collecting paintings, and then the second with Plankton. But here we also get to play as Sandy again, so on my way to finish them all off, I actually destroyed my 100th robot with her for the last of those trophies out of the way. Oh, Squirrel Smasher. That's all those trophies done now. Now, although I'm not a fan of collectibles, like I mean at all, this game makes them feel very natural to me. And I actually enjoy exploring the world getting them the exact same way I do in Spyro. But the reason I bring that up is because because right about here is when I got my 40th of Patrick's socks. Oh, half of them done already. But from there, I finished off my missions here and got the trophy for doing so. Then I just went around and made sure to 100% the area while I was at it, getting me my 50th golden spatula, Ultra Spatula Seeker. But now that gives us access to the third and final hub area, which of course means we're headed back into the Poseidon for yet another boss fight, this time against Robo Patrick, meaning just like Sandy, we have a total of 9 hits to get on him. And to do so in the first wave, I just have to dodge all of his green goo he's tossing around and I can get a hit after. But for wave 2 we're playing as Sandy, because now the goo starts to rise and we have to swing around to dodge it all. But it's still the same premise, I just have to hit him after he's done. And then the final wave actually gets a bit difficult. The goo rises all the way up this time and he tosses a lot more of it too. And I might have actually died here as well. No. But luckily the respawn is at the beginning of that wave, so I just quickly redid it and here's my final hit. Easy. Robo Patrick down. Toxic Terror. And now that I had all of the main area unlocked, I can finally get my last spatula in Bikini Bottom right here. Hello, Bikini Bottom. But that means it's time for this next area.
Sand Mountain.
So this whole area is just made up of a bunch of slides all around, which I gotta say is definitely the worst area for collectibles, especially those damn sandy snowmen. They pissed me off. But at least there was one really simple trophy here, and that's just for using each of the slides once. Life's as extreme as you want to make it. So on top of the collectibles, you also need to do a race on every single one of these slides to get a spatula from Larry, which for the most part are pretty easy. I mean, I did have some troubles on the last one, but I figured out that you just need to find the shortcuts and you can get those out of the way easy. And well, that's about all there is for this area, which brings us to the first of the last 3 areas, SpongeBob's Dream. And I guess I just wanted to slide around more because the first mini area I went to in here was Sandy's, which is literally just a huge area with unlimited sliding. But I finished that up and headed off into the next one where I got into this huge robot battle, which is also where I met the very last type of robot that I haven't seen for the first time. Robot Encyclopedia. Oh, that's every single robot in the game. Then once I grabbed my final spatula from this level, I get this. Sleepy Time, which isn't really the final spatula in this level since I had to go get more inside Sandy's mini level. I don't know, but once I got the other one, I had hit 75 of them collected. Oh. Mega Spatula Seeker. Oh, and I also just can't forget to mention how cooked this platforming level is. I died so many times, especially since I had to go through it twice since I missed a collectible. But hey, at least now we're on to the final 2 areas, starting with this one.
Here we are in the kelp forest.
And besides the obvious collectibles, there's only one single mission here trophy-wise, and it's for Miss Puff. She kind of lost all of her campers in the kelp forest. What a great teacher. But along my journey through this whole area, I just had to get a total of 6 of them hiding around. And then once they're returned to her, I get this trophy. Kelp Forest of Fear. So before starting the final area, I decided to grind out some shiny objects for a little bit so that I could buy out Mr. Krabs of every single spatula he had. Since now I also had every single other one in the game, meaning all I would need to do is complete this final level and boss fights to get the platinum. So off we go to the Flying Dutchman's graveyard. And here we have one fairly basic goal, which is to get over to the Flying Dutchman's ship and just clear it of every single robot enemy there is. Oh, and then I also had to ready his cannons. Ship shape.
I think I'll keep this golden spatula.
And well, what else could you expect from a pirate? So it's time to knock him out and get our spatula back, which all in all is just another very simple boss fight. I just had to dodge his laser eyes for a little bit and then I would be able to lasso him for a hit. Well, that was super easy. Shanghai. I thought that was going to be a lot harder for the Flying Dutchman. So from there I went back through the area finishing off the collectibles, like getting my final sock of the game. And so now all I had was one single spatula left. And to get it, I had to confront the final boss of the game, SpongeBob Steel Pants. Which was kind of cheap because he spawn camped me right when I started it up. But to actually defeat him, I had to first actually dodge the karate chop and I'd get a chance to hit the green button on his hand. But he also has them all over his body, which is where my bubble rockets come in handy. I mean, aside from the part where this Plankton bot just floats in front of me eating the rockets. So at one point I made sure to take a break and give him a good beating. But wave 2 is essentially the same thing, except this move is added, where he karate chops the platform you're standing on. And well, the other moves from before are just a lot faster now. And I could just never seem to dodge this one. But once I got to the final wave, here's how it went down to finish off this fight. Let's go, last hit. Robot SpongeBob. No, what was that? Come on, please have time, please have time. Yes, no, what? What is this game? There we go, SpongeBob versus SpongeBob. Now to finish off this game, we have to go inside Steel Pants' head for some crazy platforming and robot fighting, all in the pursuit of blowing up its brain to end the game. And besides Plankton being a nuisance, it ended up being very simple, with me just having to use rockets on each side to get through these tunnels, and I get my final trophies. Oh, there we go, Super Ultra Mega Spatula Seeker. 100% SpongeBob. The small does not rule. And then finally I should get the platinum. There it is, Neptune Spatula. So that was my first time finally 100% completing this game, and I'm so glad I got to. Such a good game. But I'll let SpongeBob send us off into the next one.
There's still work to be done out there. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy wouldn't stop, and neither will I. We can't rest until Bikini Bottom is safe.
So that brings us into the Cosmic Shake to save Bikini Bottom yet again. Starting off with SpongeBob and Patrick leaving Glove World when they notice this.
Can I have this?
What, this old piece of magic and mystery? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Madame Cassandra, purveyor of long-lost treasures of the Seven Seas. For those on a budget.
So she tells us that this soap can be used to blow bubbles that make dreams come true. And so of course when they got back home, they just started blowing a bunch of them. When all of a sudden, this happens.
It also says, property of King Neptune. Not for use by mortals. Use sparingly and with caution.
So now with Bikini Bottom completely overturned, we make our way through the rubble to find Madame Cassandra again for an explanation. And while I'll let her do the talking.
Your bubble stravaganza must have blown holes through the universe, squeezing the jelly out and sucking your friends into new and strange worlds.
That was gonna be my first guess.
And so she tells us we need to go through all the strange worlds to save our friends and collect jelly for her. And that's how we save everything. And to be able to get into our first portal, she gives us our first costume, which also gives me this, dress up. I also went and grabbed 2 super easy trophies to get them out of the way. This one for jumping 10 times on a jump pad, and then this one for smacking up 25 NPCs. And there we go, wanted sponge. But then it was time to hop into my first portal, which brings us into an old western area. And it starts off with something brand new to this game, seahorse riding. Pretty cool addition, I can't lie. But our goal here is to make it to this town and find Mr. Krabs and bring him back to the real world. But we also have a few other missions, like getting our license to ride a seahorse.
This doesn't say anything about boatmobiles.
Or even finding Sandy in a bar and whooping her in a chugging competition. Go, 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 go. Well, that was easy. But I also ended up getting another trophy here for stealth bubbling an enemy. Bamboozled. And I also got this after a few more enemies. Sponge out of harm's way, which is for defeating 50 of them without taking damage. Damn, I'm good. I also tried to get as many collectibles as I could along the way. But this game's a lot different in that sense, since you need to unlock all the abilities to get through every collectible, which also requires beating the game, unlike the last one. But I kept making my way through to fill up every single one of these cactus juice barrels, and even ended up getting another combat trophy, which is for bubbling 10 of these jellies mid-attack. Bubble the trouble. But then as we were continuing, we see a train full of all the cactus juice we collected taking off, which is definitely a pretty cool level. But every single boss fight in this game, including this one, has a difficulty trophy. And this one just happens to be a speed run. And there's no replaying boss fights until you've beaten the game. So for now, I only had one chance to make this work, and I had to do it in under 3 minutes. Now I have actually platinumed this game before, back when it was free on PS Plus over a year ago. So I do have some experience with it, but I can't say I fully remember everything, especially with how this turned out. No, did I just screw the whole thing? Oh man. But I was able to finish it up on the next run at least to bring Mr. Krabs back and get my trophy for beating this area, which means we now get a new costume to get to the next. Oh, karate. And once I hop through the portal, we roll out into a movie premiere where we have to find Sandy to bring her back. But on my way through, I ran into Squidward the director, who then makes us a part of the movie. And right away, we jumped into a pretty cool side-scrolling scene. But then from there, I guess we're a movie star now. And to finish the movie off, we have to parkour across some roofs and of course fight a whole bunch of enemies off along the way. We even have some paparazzi to come take our picture. But during one of those enemy fights, I ended up getting another trophy for getting 50 enemies hit by this jelly maker's roar. Stunning performance performance. But now to find Sandy, we just had a few more areas to go through, like this section where I had to dodge all the boats driving at me, which was pretty fun and easy. Just actually starting it up was hard since I failed at the very first jump like 3 times. But then I eventually made my way to the rooftops where I'll get another 2 trophies done. The first for simply just gliding a total of 1,000 meters. Is it a plane? Is it pizza? And then the second was directly after it for getting my 100th karate kick on an enemy. And with that, we finally find Sandy sitting in her dojo dome. And we know things are about to get rough because she's rocking the Bruce Lee outfit. But just like the last boss fight, there's a challenge trophy for not getting hit during the fight. Oh my god, I got hit off the rip. There was no warning. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. But to actually beat this fight and save Sandy, we have 3 fairly tough waves here. For wave 1, I just actually had to dodge that first attack and I'd be able to get a hit. Then there's just a few enemies in between us and into round 2, which instead of being upright, the wheel is flat now and spinning at us, which trust me is way harder to dodge. The no-hit run here is definitely not that easy. But then wave 3 has these running guys, which actually killed me the first time. But here's how you're actually supposed to get it done. There we go, last hit. Movie star. So now that we got Sandy back, it's time to become a pirate for level 3, where we spawn in on this random beach to get our next trophy, which is simply just for bubbling my 100th enemy. So instead of having to bring back somebody from here, this time we need to bring back something. And that thing is SpongeBob's pineapple, which apparently the Flying Dutchman is holding hostage until we get him his ship back. So I headed off to fight off all the enemies, but I ran into a few more trophies along the way, such as Boxing Champion for destroying 1,000 tikis, or this one for listening to this little guy sing, Music Enthusiast. And then for the final one, I had to spin 6 umbrellas all at once. Pretty crazy stuff. But I cleared my way through the rest of the level while collecting all of the Flying Dutchman's socks and making sure to fly him high. And it eventually brought me to my next boss zone, where guess what we have? Another challenge trophy. And all that had to be done for this one is swing and fly my way across all these ships to get to the very end and claim the Flying Dutchman within less than 5 minutes. And I was sick of missing out on these trophies, and I just needed to have this one. So I made sure to lock in and went as fast as I could, beating up every single enemy in sight. And surprisingly, I actually got my first one done. Oh, I did it! Deck Scrubber. Did it in under 5 minutes. Oh, first mate as well. Complete all the missions in the Pirate Goo Lagoon. So we brought SpongeBob's pineapple back home where we get our next flower costume. But I also decided to get a few trophies out of the way that I was super close to getting, such as destroying 500 objects for this. And then the next one is actually fairly annoying to get. I needed to destroy 5 of these jelly makers by knocking an enemy into them. But the enemies never really seem to go in the direction you want, making it take a lot longer than it should. Here we go. Yes, perfect. Return to sender. And then the third and final one before we head off is for catching 50 jellyfish total. But our next area is down in Halloween Rock Bottom. And here we have to save our pal Gary. And I also had to stop off and give Tom something quick.
Chocolate! Chocolate! Finally, chocolate!
But I went around trick-or-treating on some doors, getting some terrible candy.
Wow, vintage!
And even got in a very slow snail race. And I do like that they at least put golden spatulas as the one collectible per map. Still should be the main ones in my opinion. But one thing I don't like about this game is that they have so many pointless trophies for just doing something simple a bunch of times. Like this one for hitting my 50th button. Woohoo! I'd say that at least half of them are like that. But after I solved this trippy looking shadow puzzle, I made my way down a few slides and eventually ended up finding Gary. And so to get the boss fight trophy here, I just had to complete it without him seeing me the whole time. Oh no. I couldn't even get past the first barrier. But to complete it, I had to make my way up all of these flights of stairs, making sure to hide behind these barriers and not be seen. And if I did get spotted, I could just break out of the freeze and keep on going. But once I was able to get through and break all of Scary Gary's candy machines, I get my next trophy. Scaredy Pants. And then we do bring him back, but he's not quite normal yet. But with that, it's time for our next costume and area.
Petgar, Manaka.
Now we are able to make out that we're here to find Squidward, but that's about it. And also right off the rip, I get introduced to a new type of enemy. And they also have a trophy for using them to kill 10 other enemies just like this. I also had gotten another one right after for yet again doing something 10 times. They really need better trophy ideas. But this one's for smacking this ball back to take out this guy 10 times. So there's one trophy that pained me horribly the first time I played this game since I didn't know it was there. And that's for collecting 10,000 jellies. these. I had to grind for hours to get that last time. So here I made sure not to spend a single one the whole time until I got my final one, which was right about here. SpongeBob Jelly Pants. Oh, I finally hit 10,000. Ole. But a little while after that, and I eventually found my way to Squidward, who's just hanging around ready to be cooked and eaten by Pearl.
Now God, Malaga Palega.
And so, of course, now we have to take out Pearl. And yes, there's another trophy here, and it's for not getting hit by these shockwaves. But did I do it? Well, no. No, I did not. But this is definitely the longest fight in the game. Instead of 1 hit per wave, I had to do 2 on each. The first round was simple. I just had to jump over the shockwave and was free to get my hits. But then wave 2 ramps it up a lot. It seems like she never stops sending out shockwaves. These rounds are so long. And then on top of that, there's this damn crying part I just always seem to get hit by. Like right here when I was 1 single hit from beating the whole thing. What? The third wave was way more intense, and I actually ended up dying a second time at the exact same spot. Like what? But then on my third retry, I finally got it down. Ugh, oogaha. So now we're on to the final 2 levels of the game, and then off to the platinum. And first up, we become a jester because we're off to the medieval sulfur fields, which overall is a pretty cool level and definitely fulfills the medieval vibes with the castle and all. There's even a nasty witch.
Who's a good girl? You are! You are!
And of course we have a few more trophies we can grab, such as this one, which I was unable to get until now. And it's for getting this enemy to kill the other enemy over here. And I also quickly just have to mention how much I hate this area. Going back here for collectibles absolutely pained me. But the boss fight here is against that ugly looking witch. And no, don't even ask, I failed the trophy here too. But all I had to do here is to serve up cake to 10 different hungry guests while dodging every enemy attack. And once I served the last one, I got this. King of the Castle. Oh yeah, and the one we saved from here is Pearl. So now for our final level, we have the absolute best one yet. Glove World. And definitely the best just because it has a lot of fun mini games everywhere. But I had a goal I was after here. And that goal is to get the very last spatula I needed in the game, since there's only 1 on each level. SpongeBob Holmes Pants. That's a great trophy name. Then once I had made my way through to the end, we find Patrick being held hostage by Glovey.
It's not what it looks like.
And after a hard decision, SpongeBob chooses to save Patrick, bringing us to our second last boss fight, which finally has a super easy trophy that I'm actually able to get on the first try. I just had to waste some time until Glovey here killed off 20 of his own buddies. Yeah, there we go, splash zone. I also used this as the perfect time to toss 25 enemies off the edge for this one. But the basis of this fight is that I have to use the reef blower to inhale enemies and then shoot them at Glovey to get a hit, which is simple in the first wave of course, but waves 2 and 3 make it so you're on this little tiny platform here just getting absolutely bombarded. Thankfully there's not a no damage trophy here, but to even get to the reef blower I would have to do some platforming just to get over to it. And once I did that a couple of times, here's my final hit. Boom! Ride Rider. Now on to the end of the game, which for some reason we had to pick up trash first. But then we go back to the Madame and give her all of the jelly, which all of a sudden spawns King Neptune in.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
And well, it turns out she duped us and got us to collect all that jelly to make her have some crazy magic powers. Who would have guessed? But that brings us into our final boss fight to save Bikini Bottom. And just like always, we've got 3 hits to go. And we have an assortment of different moves to go through, like the shockwaves we're already used to. And then a bunch of tentacles we have to dodge, which is very crucial because if even one of them hits us, it cancels out the extra trophy. But to actually get a hit is the exact same as the last fight by using the reef blower. Hit number 2, let's go. But here's when I finally got onto wave 3 for the win. Oh, that was so close, holy crap. This is rank. What is that? Holy crap. There we go, I think that's it. There's the last hit. Local hero. Yes, I got it. Tentacle Dodger. Didn't get hit once. And now that Madame Cassandra is defeated, we all have a good laugh and even get a gift.
I shall grant you one final wish.
That was fun. I wish we could do it all over again.
And so now it's time for cleanup and collectibles. And to start it off, I had to go inhale 100 enemies with the reef blower. 100 enemies sucked. I mean, shit. And then to get the last random one out of the way, I had to reload this spot and get this guy to squish 20 of his fellow blobs to death. And since there's only 2 at a time, I had to do it over and over. But now we can get into the fun with going back to complete all of the boss fight trophies I had missed throughout the whole game. Starting off with the easiest one for catching Mr. Krabs in under 3 minutes, which I definitely would have had the first time, by the way. I was right there. But this time I actually got killed in the most BS way possible. I mean, just look at this crap. No, what the heck was that bull? No way. But I ran it right back after that, and I was able to get it done super easy by just dodging all of the enemies and skipping over them. The good, the bad, and the crabby. And now for number 2, we have one that I was actually kind of dreading. Sandy's spinning wheel fight, where I just straight up had to take no damage at all the whole fight. And between the spinning wheel and then the little jellies in between rounds, and then even the running men in black here, it was not the easiest thing I've done. In fact, the very first time I seen those running guys, I died. Well, actually the second time as well. What? And then the third try, I actually did it, but I was hurt by this stupid platform that just insta-hits you if you're standing on it. Terrible. But on my 4th try, I made sure to not be anywhere near that and was able to get it done. And that leaves 3 more to go, and they're actually in order of difficulty, starting with the hardest one of them against Gary. And as I said before here, I had to get all the way up multiple flights of stairs without being seen, which is pretty easy to let happen. No, what kind of bullshit is that? And oh boy, did it happen. Quite a few times. But my winning run was actually kind of crazy. I got a bit fed up and I just speed ran it, going ham, taking every chance I could to skip a section while he was busy. And well, it might have actually paid off. Yes, it did count. Hey, you didn't see that coming. Now the final 2 weren't nothing crazy. On Pearl's fight, I just had to dodge all of the shockwaves, which although they were a crazy part of this fight, they only happened for some parts of it, and I could still take other damage, and I was actually able to get it done on the first go. And then the very last one against the witch, I actually could have done before, but I didn't understand it. The only thing I had to do was not get hit by the enemies the whole time, and I could actually just let Witchy hit me whenever. So just like that, I got the last one done first try, which means 2 trophies left until the platinum, and both of them are for collectibles. The first is far worse than the last one though, since I needed to get every single coin in the game, which also required completing every single side mission collectible to get those coins too. And so that's what I started with, watching YouTube videos for a good couple of hours, going through maps over and over, trying to find all the ones I had either just misplaced or straight up couldn't find. I even had to do a couple races for some. But to save you the pain I went through of staring at collectibles forever, I'll skip over to the last one. Alright, my very last coin in the game should be right here. Took me about 2 hours. Want to see me do it again. And now all that's left is to grind jellies until I finally had enough to get every single costume in the game, which I had 2 options for. Either stand here and hit a garbage can for a slow 2 jellies per hit, or just keep respawning and wiping out this whole area here. And well, I chose the second option, since it's not only faster, but also a lot less brain numbing. And it's also exactly what I did last time, except for this time I only needed about 8,000 total to get everything I needed, which didn't take too long. And there's the 8,000 I need. Oh crap. I forgot about those.
47 seconds later.
Alright, now I think this is the last one for the platinum. This should be anyways. Yes! Fashion Hunter! There we go. One sponge to rule them all. So this game kind of has a lot of mixed reviews, and after platinuming it twice, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's definitely better than the likes of the first 2 absolute stinkers we went through. Overall not bad, but Bikini Bottom definitely holds the crown. But next up, we've got something a little bit different, the Patrick Star game, which in the intro I had called a GTA style simulator because, well, I don't know how else to explain it. It feels like Goat Simulator in the sense that you just have a big open world Bikini Bottom to explore and do so many random tasks with no general storyline at all. But then on the other hand, you also get to steal cars and rip around in them. There's even a few missions that are very reminiscent of some from GTA. But since there's no storyline here, all of the trophies are just for completing random activities around the map, like going back to sleep right when you start the game, or playing at the park with Gary, or even just answering a phone. Although there is a few more difficult trophies to get, like the next one, which is also some foreshadowing for the next game. But for this, I had to cook and build burgers in probably probably the most clunky way possible. What? Why did it flip like that? This was absolutely miserable to navigate because of the damn controls. But it was also pretty funny at the same time, even considering I failed it the very first time without even getting silver. And so I had to run it back. And to actually get the gold, you need to be moving real fast. This gets really hectic running all over the place for different ingredients. And in the end, I just barely made it in the last few seconds of the countdown. Oh, I got it. I'm the best fry cook around. Oh yeah, Krusty Cook-Off. I also had to go over to the chum bucket after and do the exact same thing, except with buckets of goop mixed with eyeballs and bones. But since I had it down now, I got that one on the first try. There's also a bunch of races around that are pretty fun. I mean, they're all very easy, but still fun nonetheless. Unscheduled destruction. And once I win the final one around the map, I get this trophy. Holy crap, that was a close one. Boatmobile safety courses. I also had to go help out Sandy and clean off a bunch of goo from all around the map for another couple of trophies out of the way. But that's literally just how the whole game is. I just had to go around clearing out every area of the map one by one, and I'd get a bunch of random trophies. And of course they have a lot of throwbacks to the show everywhere, like boulders you can ride.
Rocks.
And probably the best thing they could have added for a Patrick game is the collectibles.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And there is a bunch of them in every area. Like here in Jellyfish Fields, where I had to collect a bunch of jellyfish as well. I mean, grabbing onto two at the same time was probably the hardest part. Okay, there we go, there we go. That's close enough. No! Oh, come on. Okay, I can do this now. There we go. I just need to find a blue one. Double jelly. But then once I did that, I had to go around collecting all of the jellyfish and return them to the king for another couple of trophies. And after that, I decided to go through a few mini games that are all around, like using the reef blower to clear out everyone so Squidward can sunbathe in peace. And each of these games has a few different courses around the map, so I had to complete all of them to get the trophies. Like in the next one for doing all this target practice. Ultimate Coconut. Or after that, I had skydiving, which was actually really fun. And it had one challenging trophy as well for me to land on a moving platform. Oh, I did it. Moving target. But after I completed all the skydiving ones, I got this. There's also a raid room where I had to simply just drive to for a trophy. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. But I also had to spend a bit of time here destroying everything with a hammer to collect as many points as I could to get gold medals. And then of course, once I was done all those ones, another trophy pops up. But then I found some of those missions reminiscent of GTA. And I'm talking about the ambulance and police missions that are timed and just an absolute pain to do. If you've done them, you know what I'm talking about. Although this first one wasn't too bad, all I had to do was deliver some food around, and once I got the last one done, I got this trophy. But there are some harder ones. I mean, not before I came across this random bag of money, and I bet you can guess who I had to bring it to. Money bags. I also ran into another trophy to do with something super iconic. This hat. And I'm not even gonna try and pronounce dude's name.
Smitty Werben Jaegerman Jensen.
What?
But once I bring it to his grave, I get this. But then back to the GTA missions. And this one is literally the vigilante missions. I had to take a cop car and chase down criminals, smacking into them until they stop. Pull over, sir, pull over. Quit resisting, quit resisting. Sir, pull the boatmobile to the side of the road. All right, we're going in. Oh, got him. Hall monitor. But the next one absolutely pained me. And it's definitely the hardest part of the game, simply just for the crappy mechanics there is. For this one, we have a garbage truck, and I have to roll around collecting garbage. But because of the simulator style mechanics, everything would always just fly away. And since we're timed here, it just kept screwing me over. Oh, stop hitting me. Get away. Oh no, oh my god.
What kind of place is this?
Like this one where everything ended up landing on a roof. And I would have to complete 3 different full routes while bringing it all back to the dump, which all in all ended up taking me about 25 minutes, considering every time I bumped into something, it all went flying. Like when I got into this absolute mess that just kept getting worse. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh my... no, don't go off the cliff, please. This is my last run. I hate this. But here's my reaction of finally getting through it all. Yes, Trash King. That was way more annoying than it should be. Which brings us right into the second worst part about this game. The damn garbage dump. This area has a mission for Plankton where I had to go around digging up and collecting 30 chests for him. I mean, a lot of them were hidden very well, like having to use this crane to get them out, or even in the end I had to play a game of pinball, which also did actually get me another trophy for getting a high score at it. But then once I returned all the chests to Plankton, I got this one out of the way. Treasonous treasure pleasure. And now we're off to Glove World for another few trophies, like these first two I got just for playing and winning a couple different mini games. Water Blaster Master. But the worst here is for the same reason as the dump. I had to collect 30 hidden gloves all around Glove World and return them to SpongeBob. But I ended up getting so confused and could not find the last couple for the longest time. And I ended up spending another solid half an hour here running up and down until I finally came across it right here. Yes! Finally! Took me half an hour to find all these ones. Glove World Grab. But that only leaves us with 2 areas left. Like this one, which is just a whole area full of different art challenges hosted by Squidward, of course. Like building sculptures. What a masterpiece. Or even making a painting where I had to use every single color for this. And then the very final one is a dancing competition where I just had to spin around spamming buttons to bust out some crazy moves and get the final dub. The Artist Within. And now the very final area is the Fast Food Coliseum, where we have to participate in the Food Olympics, which consists of 3 challenges. The first being to throw javelin fries into boxes. The second is tossing burgers and fries over to all the hungry guests. And then for the final one, I had to spray this poisonous looking soda into all of these cups. The Fry Cook Games. And now that leaves 1 single trophy left, and that's for going around to collect all the mayo jars I had missed. Which wasn't actually that many, since they're all actually fairly easy to find and I had gotten them all along the way. And also the map shows you how many you have left in each area. I mean, the very last one had me stumped for a while, checking in the most random places, but here's when I finally found it. Yes, it is here! There we go, that's the platinum right there. Mayo Hunt, Bikini Bottom. I got an award. So for what it is, I'd say the Patrick Star game is a pretty good time. It's just a funny simulator game that can be completed very quickly and was overall a good time. Although next up is game number 6, which is definitely the longest grind out of any of these 7 games. Up next, we have the Krusty Cook-Off, which I had to spend a whole $20 on. But this was originally a mobile game, and they just removed all the transactions and ported it over to PS5. And although it took the longest time out of all of them to complete, coming in at over 20 hours, it's also the most simple and most straightforward of them all as well. As you can see here, I have a pancake stand, which don't worry, we'll get to the Krabby Patties later, but the whole goal is to cook up food and serve the correct order to the customers, which I'll explain more in a minute. But for now, I got my first trophy for just completing this very simple first level. There's also plenty of upgrades for me to get, like this one that expands my cooking area to get more spaces to cook with, which also gets me another trophy for my very first upgrade. I'm ready. Promotion. So as for the cooking, there's multiple different stations, and as I get further, more and more items get added, making it harder. But there's also a special power-up for each character, and in this case we're SpongeBob, so his power-up auto makes the food and also gets me a trophy for the first time using it. And alongside the upgrades, we also have interior items, which make it so you earn more tips. And there's also decoration items, which does the exact same thing. And while serving the food, if you get them all fast enough, you can create a multiplier, which gets me this for getting a 10x. And I had already gotten so good at the game, I got this for not failing 100 orders in a row. And so essentially, I just had to go through all the levels in this restaurant, saving up money to buy upgrades and fully max them out in every category. I also had to level up my characters, which is how I got this. But leveling them up is just so you can buy them clothes that you never even get to see. But this first restaurant here has 30 levels total to beat. And even though we're how many trophies in, I was only on level 15. Which is where I also happen to get this for cooking every meal perfect on time for a whole level straight. And just to give you an idea of how the hardest level goes here is basically just like this. Every station is full with different items and everyone wants all types of different combinations, different toppings, different sides. It definitely gets a bit hectic. And remembering which buttons to click can for sure get confusing. But beating that very first restaurant fully unlocks me my next character. They also added a claw machine to get the gambling dopamine going since they got rid of the microtransactions. But as you play and complete challenges, you unlock tickets you can use to spin it with. And you just get clothes or money out of it, which is how I got my first spatula upgrade, which literally does nothing but be a cosmetic. So I don't know how it's an upgrade. But since I had so much money now, before I went to the next level, I decided to go buy every single upgrade for the first restaurant, which gets me this Pineapple Perfection. And that's where the crazy grind in this game resides. In the end, I'll have to max out every restaurant in the whole entire game. And as we go, we get more and more levels per place. Like here, we have the Krusty Krab now, which seems more fitting than pancakes, that's for sure. But we have a total of 50 levels to complete here now. And of course, every single upgrade gets way more expensive the further you go. But to finish up these 50 levels took me a bit over a solid hour of grinding. There's a lot more things to get used to here, like making French fries. I didn't even get any trophies until near the end, end, like this one for serving 50 Krabby Patties in one level. Or right after, I got this too for serving a total of 1,000 Krabby Patties this time. But by the end of the 50 levels, I was able to buy everything here, and it was off to the third and final restaurant of this area, Sandy's Barbecue, which now has 60 more levels to go through. I also had gotten SpongeBob's level maxed out by now, meaning I could buy all of his clothes, even though they weren't available until the last level. But now everything was starting to get super expensive upgrade-wise, taking a lot longer to save up for everything. Also, the gameplay just keeps getting way crazier. Now I was serving up 10 different things all at once and then making sure another one's ready, all while not burning any. There's also a few level modifiers, so if you burn something you fail, or if a customer leaves without getting served, you fail the level and have to restart it. But that would barely ever happen to me. It was far and few between that I'd actually have to replay the level. But once I had gotten to level 46 here, I had enough to get my final upgrade. And then about 10 levels later, I ended up getting all of the interiors bought out as well. Although by the end, I still couldn't afford all the decorations, so I'd have to come back for that. But I did get this for completing the last restaurant in all of Bikini Bottom, meaning we get to now see the next area. Oh no, there's 4 more levels. Oh man, it's gonna be the longest grind of all the SpongeBob games. But starting the first level up also unlocks my last character in the game, and that character's Squidward. And then as soon as I start a level with him, I get another trophy for some reason. But here I had a whole 50 levels of whipping up glizzies and making ice cream, which was actually a bit easier than the last one, so a nice little break for a couple hours. But my goal here was to just mindlessly grind through and get to the end as fast as possible, because having to spend over 20 hours on this game was making me feel pretty brain dead, just cooking things over and over and over. In fact, I felt like SpongeBob in that one episode.
Oh, bang, bang, I'm losing it! Bun down, shoe, mustard, pan, bun, no!
But eventually I got out of Weenie Hut Juniors and made it to Hamelot for another 60 levels, which also somehow got all my characters to max level. Couldn't tell you how, but hey, I'll take it. And everything was getting way too expensive now, so I wasn't even close to finishing any of the upgrades anywhere, so I'd have to grind those all out at the end. But here's a look at my final level in Hamelot. And now that that's done, we're on to the juice bar with another 70 levels, which honestly might have gotten the most confusing out of all just because the amount of different toppings and options is so bogus. And this is actually where I started using Patrick, because SpongeBob had some major glitch here that if I used his power up, it would just freeze the whole thing and make me lose every time. But Patrick's special was way better anyways, since it would just auto serve anyone that was waiting, which I'm really glad I found out because it made it so I could just wait around and only pay half attention instead of sweating over smoothie toppings. So all I had to do was sit there until the max amount of customers piled up, press the power up, and I'd get them all served. And then I could just wait again because the power up didn't take long to fill up. But once I finished up here, I was on to my final restaurant, the Salty Spittoon, which is also where I got to buy my final clothes for SpongeBob to get this. I'm ugly and I'm proud. But since I didn't get any trophies here, I'll just give you a glimpse of how my next hour and a half looked.
Ketchup, then mustard, then pickles? No, that's not right! Bun down, mustard, then ketchup, lettuce, then the pickles? No.
Alright, that's enough. Let's jump over to the end when I finally finished the last one. Oh my god, Golden Spatula Award. Let's go. Master Fry Cook. Oh my god, both of them. Oh, I thought they were glitched. And then I just had to grind for a few more hours on the same levels, saving up over 100,000 coins to buy everything. Well, then I found out I didn't even need to buy the last two, so I ended up saving up an extra 100,000 coins for no reason at all. That is a lot of time wasted. Bikini Bottom Legend. Oh, what? I could have gotten that way earlier. I didn't have to buy either of these. That sucks. So now the very final trophy was for getting 10 power-ups in a single level. Well, that's what it used to be before they changed it to 5. And I had wasted a couple hours every day for a few days in a row trying to get this stupid trophy, but it would just not work. It was literally impossible to get 10. But luckily for me, after a few of those days, I hopped on and I noticed an update. And it was exactly for that. They changed it from 10 down to 5. And I was able to get it on my first game now. There we go, Bubble Buddy boost. Only needed to get 5 instead of 10. What could be better than serving up smiles? Oh well, I'm sure there's a lot better. I am sick of this game. So I can't tell you how happy I was for that to be over. Not my style of game at all. And it's even worse that it took 2 times longer than any other SpongeBob game we have here. But now finally we have the very last game of the video and also the newest one, SpongeBob Titans of the Tide. But before we get into it, I just wanted to quickly ask that if you're enjoying the video to hook up a like. Platinuming and editing 7 games all into one video isn't the easiest thing I've done, that's for sure. So if you want to see more videos like this, let me know by liking, subscribing, and even commenting down below. Or if you want to support the channel even more, I also have channel memberships available where you can not only help support the channel so I can spend more time making bigger videos like this, but you also get some perks along with it as well. But either way, I thank you so much for supporting this channel by even just watching my videos. And now let's get into the final game of this grind.
Ah, another peaceful day in Bikini Bottom.
So this game starts out with me having to do SpongeBob's job by cleaning tables and flipping burgers, because today is half off Krabby Patty's Day. I'm surprised that Mr. Krabs would even do such a thing, but in the huge lineup ends up being both the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune. And well, they end up fighting over a spot in line and they literally make a huge nuke go off. And that's where I spawn in as Patrick to make my way over to the Krusty Krab so I can find out what's happening. I also ran into some of the enemies in this game, which are all ghosts. And there's also this new move with Patrick where he can burrow in the ground. But once I got to the Krusty Krab, I found this mini boss fight. Oh, first boss fight, here we go. I love that move, how you can just go sideways, dodge in the air. Oh, I'm too slick. I'm too slick with the dodging skills. Oh, I already got him. So all of a sudden, Mr. Krabs comes flying in on a burger platform blimp thing and scoops us up, which will now be our main hub area. I also get my first trophy for the new mechanic they added for switching characters at any time, which is actually pretty awesome. But now we have to track down the Flying Dutchman, which brings us to our first level in Goldfish Island. And before I could do anything else here, I went and got some trophies quickly, like hitting 100 NPCs. And for some reason, they let you smack up these kids. There we go, Agent of Chaos. I also took a quick picture to get this out of the way, but then I found something else super awesome they added. Well, I guess it was in the other game as well, but here the time for it never runs out unless you go to an area it can't be used in. But for traveling 2,000 meters on the surfboard, I got another trophy. Woohoo! So then I just started working my way through the level and getting a feel for this game. And honestly, I enjoyed it more than Cosmic Shake. It just feels a lot better to play for some reason. Also, being able to switch between characters is really nice. And even though I was playing it day of release, I actually didn't run into any bugs or glitches, which I was really grateful for. Well, there is some annoying collectible stuff, but I'll get into that later. And also, the Patrick sliding animation here is hilarious. But the way the levels here work is there's a few different side missions to do along the way of each one, like helping Squidward to create this here statue.
Why, it's perfect, you morons!
But once I've made my way through the level, completing the 3 that are here, I ended up getting this. I had also ran into a huge enemy fight here, and one of the enemies has cannonballs that he chucks at you, and I had to toss them back to kill off 5 of them. But then once I had made it to the end of this level, I find this big ominous looking chest here, which of course is a boss fight, and it's against the chest itself. And I do gotta say the boss fights in this game are pretty damn good. But for this one here, the chest spits goo everywhere that we can't step in, and then he starts shooting out all these homing missiles right at us. And eventually I get an explosive barrel that I have to toss at him so I can start laying down the mitts. But the final waves is where the real craziness starts happening. Whoa. That's intense. Oh, I can burrow. I forgot about that. Holy crap. This is a really cool boss fight. I thought it was just going to be kind of dumb because it's just a chest, but this is really cool. Come on, spit out the barrel. Yes, there's the barrel. Last one. Kick him in the head and then kick him in the chin. Not all gold that glitters. So now I went back to the main hub and was searching around when I found these challenges, which are another awesome addition to the game. But since I don't unlock them all until the end, we'll have to go through them later. But something I can do right now that I also found is a Krabby Patty mini game. And this here is 100% the hardest trophy in the entire game. You see, it starts off nice and slow and simple, with each button being to flip each patty. But I needed to get to a score of 999 to get the trophy. Well, here's how crazy it gets once you get going. Oh, I'm so close. I only have one fail. It's okay. No way. I failed. Now I really wish I could say I went right back and got it on the next try since I was so damn close, but I did not. What I did do was spend another 30 minutes here running this over and over again, doing what seemed to be worse each time. I swear it got 10 times harder after the first one. I just could not seem to get it and was having a terrible time. No, I was at 960. I was going so ham. Oh my god. I was 39 points away. That's such bullshit. I've been doing this for half an hour, man. I don't want to flip no more damn burgers. But eventually I remembered the crazy skills I had gained from spending 20 hours on a SpongeBob cooking game, and it all came down to this. Oh my god, I did it. Chef's kiss. Oh my god, I messed up right when I got close to. Holy crap, I finally did that. It took me a half a damn hour. Why is that so hard? Holy crap, man. And now it's time for the next level in Neptune's Palace. And before I could even enter it, I ended up destroying my 500th item for this, which gladly is actually one of the last counting trophies, unlike Cosmic Shake, which has way too many. But this level ended up being the longest time I spent on any of them in the game. This place is gigantic, and I ended up being here for another hour and a half before getting my next trophy. The first reason being this place is just so damn huge. And the second reason being, if I changed this light from blue to green, it gave me access to a whole bunch of new areas that were covered up before. And well, I may have just ended up getting lost exploring for a really long time. Very cool idea, but a crazy long area. And holy crap, is it a pain for collectibles later. But the whole purpose of this level is for us to go down into the catacombs where we run into our old friend here.
Look, Patrick, it's Madame Cassandra!
And then we actually have to free her. And along the way to escaping after, I ended up finishing off the last of my side missions here by finding Spot. From dungeon to crawler. And then as soon as we all actually do escape, this slime ball sets us up to fight our next boss and dips out. Oh, Neptune's statue. So the way this fight works is I have to run away from the falling platforms to collect this jelly jar. And then I can throw it and use SpongeBob to change the color of it, which makes the mount disappear, just like in the level. And of course, that's when I can go get my hits in. And he actually adds quite a few new moves in along the way. So here's the last round of the fight so you can see them all. Here we go. Whoop him. Right to death. Yes, got him. Shiny, muscular, and deadly. That's me, that's me. There also happened to be another side mission trophy I had missed there I went back for. And I just had to go get some snail bites out of the fridge so I could bring them to Gary. Now from there, we were off to our second last area in this winter wonderland, which is all fun when I'm clearing the outside, but getting up the mountain is where it gets a bit crazy. Well, I mean, first I had to go in the mountain so I could solve a bunch of puzzles while rolling around on this big boulder. But then I had to make my trek all the way to the peak to save Sandy, which is a pretty crazy journey with a lot of enemies and a lot of wind gusts trying to throw me down. And there's also one more counting trophy I forgot about. It's for catching 100 jellyfish, which I was stressing about the whole time, thinking maybe there's exactly 100 or something. But then once I got to this peak, there was just unlimited. Oh, I only need one of them. Firmly grasp it? Yo, what? What kind of trophy is that? And right past those jellyfish is where we find Sandy. Well, kind of. She's a bit cold, so now she's hibernation Sandy. And so now we have to knock her out for her own good, which consists of her trying to scratch me a lot. And I mean a lot. It's basically her only move. Well, until she climbs up and throws these ice blocks down that I can toss back at her to get some more hits in. And the last round also adds this in. She's super low. Come on, right here. I got her. Oh, how'd that hit me? What? Oh, let's go. I got her. Survival of the idiots. And also Sandy kind of lost all of her clothes in that level, so I had to climb the whole mountain up and down to find them all just so I could bring them back to her for this. They don't call me Cheeks for nothing. Now this game isn't actually that long. In total it ended up running me about 10 hours or so to platinum, and we're already closing in on the end with the last level where we have to go through this portal back to Bikini Bottom, which starts off with a really long slide. But this world is just a bunch of broken floating islands, each with a few different tasks to do. And then there's even a bunch of fun platforming to rip through. But the best part is this special weapon that I end up getting, which is absolutely OP. And it definitely makes up for golden spatulas not being collectibles. But now we bring that weapon over to the last and coolest boss fight of any SpongeBob game, hands down. And this fight ends up taking place in 3 different phases. The first being against the Dutchman Solo, which is kind of like his chest fight with just a few tweaks to his attacks. And I actually only had to get him to half health for his portion to be over, bringing us into phase 2 with King Neptune, which was actually pretty simple because all I had to do was dodge this laser, then fly up to dodge the electricity that was on the ground. But then once he was at half health, we had a whole bunch of sliding and platforming to do to get to the last part. And the last part is of course both of them together now, and also combines all of their attacks at the same time. I really feel like this boss fight's glitched. Their moves aren't going at the same time anymore. They're going one after the other. There we go. Now that they see SpongeBob got some crazy powers, they cower in fear and head off home. Socks and tails. And so that means collectibles and cleanup time. And to start it off simple, I just had to go help this fish stuck upside down in the sand for this. And that was followed up by me going through and completing every single race in the game. And I mean, I thought I had done a lot, but there was way more than I actually expected. They're all actually pretty fun too. But here's the final one. Alright, here we go. I'm pretty sure I can just skip this whole thing if I just drop down. Yes, I can. Final race done. The most totally awesome, perfect race. And for another random one out of the way, I had to pick up and toss 20 enemies into the goo. And since there's a crazy strong lock-on in this game, that was kind of annoying, but I did get it done. Cool them off. And now all there is left is collectibles. And none of the areas show you what you need or how many even. Well, besides the chests. But in Cosmic Shake, you could see specifically which area had which items. This game has collectibles that aren't even listed, like these TVs. But getting all these TVs unlocks me a David Hasselhoff song.
I'm David Hasselhoff.
Which I will not be playing here. But it also gets me this. The Wisdom. I also had to scour the whole game to find my last underpants piece since I needed to max out my health, which guess what? Also untrackable. But I eventually found it behind King Neptune's bed. There we go. All maxed out. And then for the biggest grind of all, I had to go through every single world and get every chest I was missing. And they don't tell you which subsection they're in or anything. I mean, luckily there was already guide videos out, but I literally had to go through every single world following a guide step by step, redoing every chest I had already gotten. I hated it so much and it took me way too long. But hey, at least there's videos, it could be worse. And once I get all the collectible chests, it unlocks me those challenges I mentioned before. And they consist of fun little platforming challenges, or even jellyfish catching challenges, or like the final one, to get my last chest, I just had to fight a bunch of enemies while making my way to the finish line. All in all, they're fun, but I sped through them like nothing, which gets me my final chest. Hoarder. And also completing this very last challenge here gets me another trophy. Holy crap, these cubes are moving. I hate the ice ones so much. The ice ones suck. Sends you into like a crazy flying momentum too. Oh, come on, there's the end, there's the end. Last two cubes. I really hate those ice ones so much. And there we go. Did all those things. And now I thought I was home free and all I had to do was buy everything in the shop. And then I found one more costume I couldn't get. And after googling it, apparently all of those yellow balloons around the game are collectibles that are untracked and unmarked and literally have nothing that tells you you need them. And lucky for me, there was a guide video out, but I literally had to go through the whole game following a video yet again for only a few that I had missed. And I didn't even know how many I needed or how many there even was. And honestly, the collectible experience kind of ruined the game for me. It made me so mad. I have no clue why they decided to make so many collectibles and not add counters for any of them but the chests. But here's when I finally found the last one. Oh my god, there's another one. Please be it. This is so stupid. Come on. Oh my god, it's it. It is it. It is it. It is the last one. That was like an hour and some of my life wasted going through. I went through the whole game again. That was so stupid. They better add a tracker for that. And here we go. This will pop to platinum. Dashing fashion. Make Mr. Krabs rich. That's for everything in the store. I did everything. There we go. That last part pissed me off, but this is a pretty good game. Kind of feels like an upgrade and a little bit of a downgrade at the same time in some parts. I don't know. I enjoyed it though. And well, that about sums it up. Better, but also worse at the same time. But now we have gone through and platinumed every single SpongeBob game that has trophies. And if you want to see more SpongeBob games that only have achievements, let me know down below in the comments. And also let me know what your favorite SpongeBob game is. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and also subscribe so you don't miss my next videos. But I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
I'm not even gonna think about you-know-who and the you-know-what doing I don't care. Just gonna relax.